I think you're winning your campaign. Like you're winning it for all of us, because when you stop gold mining, it's going to affect everybody. You're going
Yeah.
to protect everybody. But, and it felt, so we didn't know that feeling until after we got our ban. And then you realize how close you were. You can see yourself building,
Yeah.
But when you're in it, you can't see it.
Welcome to the Save Our Sperns campaign, Voices from the Frontline. I'm Morella Fife, your host and a member of the Save Our Sperns team. At the heart of this struggle are the voices of local people, farmers, families and young campaigners whose homes, work and families are rooted in this place. Their voices are joined by supporters from across the world, standing in solidarity, from professors to artists, from those offering vast expertise to those whose presence alone is an act of support. All have stood with us. In this series, we share stories of resistance, resilience, and hopes from those determined to protect these mountains, their land, their rivers, the very air they breathe, and their community. Let's get started.
For anyone listening, these two men were right in the thick of the fracking campaign along the Leitrim Fermanagh border back in 2012. Different backgrounds, different angles, but the same fierce determination to protect their home and place. Michael was one of the farmers who stepped forward in those early days when hardly anyone understood what fracking even meant. He helped organise some of the first cross-border tractor runs, gathered petitions at kitchen tables, and was central in getting the concerns of farming families, water, stock, wells and land onto the public record. His voice carried the weight of lived experience, and it carried across the border into Fermanagh, where farmers were facing exactly the same fears. Eddie was working in the heart of community organising at the time and was one of the people who pushed the campaign into the wider political arena. He helped join the dots between Leitrim and Fermanagh, turning a local fight into a regional one. He became a key voice, showing how the border meant nothing to groundwater, nothing to geology, and nothing to the risks community were facing. And he stayed with it ever since, taking that knowledge right into local government as an independent councillor and continuing to challenge the push for extractive projects in rural areas. Together and alongside countless others, they helped stop fracking from taking hold in this landscape. And now, more than a decade on, both of them have once again picked up the gauntlet, this time facing into the prospect of gold mining and the acceleration of extractive industry pressures under the critical minerals push. Different decades, same mountains, same risks, and the same instinct to protect the land for the next generation. So today we're going to wander through that time, what cross-border organising actually looked like, what it meant to face a threat together, how legislation helped and where it failed, the farming realities, the political realities, and draw some lines from then to what's happening now. Right, let's ease ourselves into the conversation now. Eddie and Michael, thanks a million for coming on to the podcast. I very much appreciate you giving me your time this evening, and I'm looking forward to a great conversation between us.
Yeah, looking forward to it now.
No.
Can we start with yourself, Eddie? Maybe, can you tell us a bit about yourself, where you live, where you're rooted, and how you first found yourself involved in activism or, campaigning?
Well, I'm a farmer. I grew up on a farm in Leitrim, milking cows as a child, and eventually went to college in Limerick. I became an architectural technician, and I wanted to come home. So I worked as a builder, a contracts manager for a while first, and then as a builder in Dublin. And then eventually we moved that business. I came back here with my wife, the start of our family. We said we had one child when we moved back.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were we thought we were coming back to a quiet North Leitrim. and we might even thought we might be bored a wee bit, you know. It was nearly like everything was coming to an end, you know. But we came back into a busy time, and then all of a sudden we were driving down the road one day, and we seen this little sign that said "No fracking," and we were like, "God, that's a terrible kind of a word. What does that mean?" And we had Google. This is back probably in 2011, and we looked it up, and we thought, Jesus, that could be great first, you know. And it kind of started from there. Then we went to the first public meeting, and actually the first public meeting was from the company. I thought maybe I might get a job because I was after doing a course in energy management, because building was slowing down a good bit at that time, 2011. And it wasn't so much about building slowing down, but everybody was going back to college that time. Everyone was kind of retraining.
Yeah.
So I had done a course in energy management. And because I'd done that, I thought, God, now a farmer in North Leitrim who understands energy, I'll get a job, you know? And then as the meeting went on, I started to scratch the head and think, yes, this is bigger. This is big. I asked a few questions, like, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and they described a project that was going to go on for about 15 years with, you know, thousands of wells. And I suppose what happened to me was my father had Alzheimer's at the time. So I was spending a good bit of time between Olivia and myself. We were minding him. And so I'd spend maybe Thursday evening, Friday, Saturday, and a good bit of Sunday with him to give Olivia a break, you know?
Yeah.
And that meant that I had time to dive into the computer and chat him and do all that. So we did a bit of research, and then we realised, oh my God, this is very serious, you know? And we didn't know what activism was.
Of course. Did any of us?
Yeah, that was the beginning for me now.
And just whereabouts in Leitrim do you live?
So me and Michael actually, well, we're all from Kilty, you know. So I'm not from Kilty, but all my grandparents came from Kilty. And my family moved when I was a child to Manorhamilton, you know.
Right.
Glenboy.
Okay. So, and you're living in Manorhamilton now, are you?
I'm living in Glenboy. In Manorhamilton, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And Michael, what about yourself? You're a farming?
Yeah.
And when did you? Sorry, let's, instead of diving into the fracking, what sort of farming do you do, and where are you based?
Sheep farming now. Yeah. Well, I'd be retired. I'm past my sell-by date as a farmer. I'll be 80 next month. So
go way out of that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So,
well, I tell you, you're a fresh-looking 80-year-old.
I don't know about that. But I spent 20 years in London, and then I came back. I went there in the 60s. There was no work around where I come from.
Yeah.
So I came back in the 80s, and then I work in a quarry as well. So I work Kerrigan's quarry. So that's machine driver. That's what I spent my life at. In England and Ireland.
And have you got family here? Or?
Oh, I have a wife and two girls and one boy now.
Right, okay. And when did it become apparent for you that fracking wasn't just talk, that it was coming close to home for you?
The first one I heard about was the Leitrim Observer about all this gas find that was in North Leitrim and Fermanagh.
Okay.
And that we thought it was going to be great too, but all this gas under us, and plenty of jobs, like what they were promising, but we learned different stories than what was happening in America and all over the place. So that was the start. He was the start of it. Is
that right?
I've been travelling after him now for many years.
Yeah, myself and Michael kind of took up together around 2012, is it?
Something around that, yeah.
And then we started, I suppose we were travelling together for, all the time. But we started to go to meet politicians and meet TDs and meet the IFA, just meet lots of people. We used to go somewhere, I'd say, nearly every week to meet somebody.
Yeah, to be somewhere. But Eddie done the talking. I only done the listening.
You were the backup. You're the backup man.
No, it's a lot more than backup man.
Yeah, I would imagine. I would imagine. And when you started to talk to politicians and the like, what sort of reception were you getting?
Well, the politicians, some of them didn't know nothing about it either. They were as green as a lot of us anyway. So it took a lot of convincing anyway to convince them to get to try to do a ban for or a moratorium for it, didn't it?
Yeah, well, it took nearly 6 years.
It took 6 years before they did get a ban, before we did.
Yeah.
Convince them to get a ban. So,
like, I can see that change as well. We in the beginning, those of us that came out against it, we didn't. I suppose we spent a lot of time just trying to build awareness. Figuring it out, asking questions. Trying to understand what was going on. Like a big response. The people have a big responsibility to find out what's going on and then to be honest with people about it, because people, they know you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where how qualified you are. If people don't know you, it's very hard to put context.
That's right. That's right.
If you know somebody and you know a family and then they're saying something, well, you know whether it's true or not because of who's saying it.
Yeah.
Because you know them. You know what I mean? And it's not that they're trying to... it's just we know each other much better than we know people
outside,
that even though they might be experts. Do you know what I mean?
That's right.
But see, you don't get, or people doesn't get involved until it comes to their own door. Like it was happening over in Rossport in Mayo about they were protesting over there, and it was, we never got involved, or I didn't get involved.
Yeah.
It was that far away, and it was still not that far away. We should have been more active. So.
And were you ever involved in activism in your life?
No, never. No, but I remember when I was in London about the Greenham Common, where the people,
the women,
the circle,
circle around the site. Yeah,
that's right. Chain link around,
that's right. Yeah. Yeah, some brave women there. They kept it up for years, and they got it stopped.
That's right. Yeah,
it's only from when it comes from the ground up, that stuff starts to happen. So I often say to people, or people would accuse me of NIMBYism, not in my backyard. But I actually think NIMBYism is a great thing, because if it wasn't for NIMBYs, we wouldn't have a clue what's going on in the world. And it's up to us then to spread the message. And I sort of feel from what you're saying there that you have the same story as ourselves. It was about finding out and educating ourselves, and then taking the message out further and say, actually, this is what's happening, and and how that message lands in different communities, and it's very tricky, because you're trying to give them the truth and to be correct in it, and you have to build trust, and particularly here in the north, as you can imagine, there's two sides to the community, and one side doesn't really trust the other side even yet, so that's even trickier. And in our case, that's what they started to paint our friends out in Greencastle as being from, that's just a Republican issue, and it was nonsense. It was absolute nonsense, that was sort of propagated by the companies themselves, so as a way of answering that issue. Did you have that issue in Leitrim, where any part of your community?
We did, because you remember, it wasn't Leitrim, it was Leitrim and Fermanagh.
I was going to come to that.
Yeah. So it was there were both sides of the border were licensed at the same time, and then eventually the company didn't come into Leitrim. It made a deal with the Irish government that if it done its work in the north, that whatever results they got in the north would be applicable to the south.
Okay.
So that forced us into the north.
Okay. And did you have trouble when you reached out initially? Did you have contacts across? Like, I know you had to have contacts, but maybe not strong contacts.
Yeah, we did. Like some of the people from Glenfarne sits along the border there, or close to Cavan, and then Fermanagh. So there were people actually living in Belcoo from Glenfarne.
Right.
So that was there was some great connections. We were quite lucky. And then as well,
some of them joined Love Leitrim as well from Belcoo.
Yeah. And then there would have been, before the border roads were closed, there would have been a great relationship between people in North Leitrim and Fermanagh.
Of course.
Especially around Kilty-Clougher and places like that.
Like some of them had land both sides of the border as well.
Yeah. So it wasn't that difficult to start building alliances across the border.
Yeah. But the trick was to build them across into the Protestant community. That was
And how did that go?
Well,
how do you feel?
We were very lucky with that too. There was some great people. So there was a community group in Fermanagh called LAMP, Letterbreen and Mulloch Dunn Partnership.
Oh yes, yeah.
And that had been doing peace work, cross community work for maybe 10 or 14 years before Fracking was started.
Yeah,
and we got we kind of caught their attention at one point, and I got a phone call one day at 2:00 or 3:00. Do you want to give a presentation in an Orange Hall in the north?
Right, yeah.
And I said yes. And
yes, please.
Yes, I was delighted. And then it seemed that if you give a presentation in an Orange Hall, the Catholics will come as well as the Protestants. So it was a space that everyone would go to.
Okay.
And I remember Tom Ellis was there that night. And that was a great opportunity. So it kind of became, because it was a public health issue.
Yes.
And because people were already very resilient, there was a very resilient community. And it was quite clear that people were trying to divide them along sectarian lines,
Yes, yeah.
I think they kind of got over that pretty quick. You know what I mean? And they were interested in the information. And like I remember asking somebody, how did we get to that meeting? And like my father was a cattle dealer, and he would have worked across the border up and down, buying cattle in Belfast, selling them in Cork.
Yeah.
He was mixed quite well,
Yeah.
And they told me that got me in the door, but that's all. Do you know what I mean? So these things it's amazing how the community works. Do you know what I mean? It's just really amazing how it works.
Yeah.
So we had issues. Like I remember in 2014 when Belcoo, there was a 6-week period when the company wanted to drill a well in the quarry in Belcoo.
Okay.
And we were on the road for 6 weeks, and as soon as you start, a 24-hour protest like that, and hundreds of people were standing around barrels, lit. It was like a festival atmosphere. But the first thing to start doing is singing Republican songs.
Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah.
So you kind of had to say to people come on, lads, now this isn't...
Drop that. Yeah.
That's not what this is about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that people would be very sensitive to that, because it had to be a space that was safe for kids and for everybody. And what? It grew and grew and grew. Our biggest problem was, we need another field. We need to get into another space, because it just kept getting bigger.
Yeah.
And in the end, Arlene Foster, they were coming to the end of their license, but they were expecting it to be renewed. And in the end, because it was growing and was so successful, Arlene Foster pulled they had applied for an extension to the license, and she refused to give it to them.
Yeah.
So the connection to the cross community aspect was the winning.
Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah.
Of all the piecework done in Ireland, north and south, and this is a piecework where there was a lot of energy put into it, but possibly very little money.
Oh, no money at all. No one had any money.
And the deciding, the thing that drove it was a common concern.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
for everyone, and so old political ideologies were allowed to be parked, let's say, for the time being, whilst the community on both sides dealt with this threat. That's a fascinating story, and I wonder, has it been captured, in any other way? Like, we all know it, because we're all involved, but that's a story that it needs to be highlighted in a different way. It's a real sort of success story.
Yeah, it's a real aspect to it, but it was just, fracking was terrible. It really was a real threat, and it hasn't been solved in the north. Like Sinn Féin said this year that they'd bring forward legislation to ban fracking in Northern Ireland. They haven't done that. I'm really concerned about that.
Yeah.
But like, it's in their program for government to do something on it.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. We've met such great friends, like, in the north, since all this. Like, our lives have been so interesting. Like when you're a farmer in North Leitrim, your neighbours, like, and you're involved in you're in a little we didn't know we were in a bubble, but you're in a bubble.
Are. Yeah.
But when you get involved in activism, then that bubble's burst.
All over the place.
Yeah, even a political bubble. You're involved in a political party, or you have all of that gets burst, and you start to talk to everybody.
But the way it is now, one has to train a whole new generation. That generation nearly is getting old now.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
To get the new people out on the ground would be the biggest task, I think, now, because a lot of them still don't know what the fracking was, because they were only nearly children when we were talking about.
Funny, that was the thing we were talking about ourselves, because, there's a certain cohort of us, we hold the knowledge in Save Our Sperns, and like, God bless our young people, because they're really up to their neck trying to make a living and, hold down jobs, get some places to live, rear children, and the pace of life is just frantic, they just haven't got the bandwidth or the capacity, and I can see it. And they can't afford it. That's right. Yeah. So, in a way, this podcast is part of that archive for us, for Save Our Sperns. It's trying to catch everyone that's in any way involved at all, and at least we have an archive there, and the people can listen and watch and say, oh yeah, that's how it happened, or that's how they felt at that time, Anyways, moving on. So it seems like to me that the border then, while it's very important, also became irrelevant at the same time. It's not to say we're taking the border away, but, because of this common concern, it was all about the fracking, and, the two communities come together across the border. That was kind of phenomenal, to feel the power that's something else,
and it was more than two communities. It was the south and the north, both sides in the north. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you could divide them, but you couldn't. That what it proved was that people couldn't be divided on an important issue.
Yeah.
But with the gold mining now, there's planning all over the country now, and there's a lot of new groups that's getting up now. So it'll spread more and get more people.
Yeah, they are. And funny, we got quoted recently. I just can't remember what the quote came out of, but it was something like along the lines, these groups, like the Save Our Sperns groups, are popping up all over the country, and something needs to be done about them. I thought, well, somebody's noticing, what we're up to, and really, we're following your example and the Shell to Sea campaign as well, the Shell campaign. And so you were the guys who were out there in front, and we've learned a lot off you,
Yeah. I remember when we met the people from Shell to Sea.
Yeah.
We were about a year into our own campaign, and was it RTE or I'm not sure which, but they were running something on natural resources. So they invited us to Dublin, and then they invited the Rossport community as well.
Okay.
So we met all of these people that had been fighting for years. Like, we'd see them on the television,
That's right. Yeah.
And we were looking at them going, my God, who are these people? Like, these are anarchists, or these are radical people. Like,
they're only ordinary people.
They're just ordinary people. Like,
that's all. Yeah.
And they were laughing at us. Like, were you there that, Mike?
No, I wasn't at that.
They were laughing at us. They were saying, oh, they were laughing at our innocence. Like, and they were having a crack with us. And they were saying, in about 15 years' time, we'll see how you're getting on. Like, and they said, like, it's your job. We were asking them for help and asking them for advice and stuff. And they were saying, no, got to figure it out. You're going to be grand,
Yeah.
You remember the Rossford 5, the ones that went to jail? Well, some of them came down to Manor Hamilton now and gave us presentations and told us the whole story about the pipeline and them, what they had to do, and where there were one fella, he was bet up and left for dead under a trailer. So one of them.
Yeah. But we thought that was in front of us,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But it wasn't. We were lucky because you remember Sister Magella?
Yes. Yeah.
She connected the people in Rossport to the UN, and they had brought in a rapporteur to look at leasing down in Rossport.
That's right.
So one of the things that happened when we were on the road in Belcoo was that the PSNI were very wary of a repeat of what happened in Rossport.
Oh, they were already forewarned.
So that probably saved us. It allowed us to establish, the kind of protest that we wanted to establish then.
Yeah.
And then it grew and grew and grew until it had to be pulled. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we were very lucky. So we wouldn't have been successful without Rossport.
Mm.
Yeah.
They'd have been a big help, all right.
Yeah. We needed their history became our
present day.
Mm. Yeah. And then we listened to them. Like, we could ring up Sister Magella or Micheál O'Shine and just chat them about stuff.
Yeah.
And they'd give us advice, They wouldn't tell us what to do, but they'd say, well, these are the mistakes that we made, and we wouldn't make them again. And we'd say, but that's exactly what we want to do. But we'll actually listen to you. We'll do what we took some great advice from them at times, which wouldn't have been what we would have expected.
Yeah.
Like, there was one time when there was 20,000 offered to a business group in Manor Hamilton. And everybody was outraged that this money was taken. Yeah. And I remember chatting to Micheál O'Shine about it. Like, for me to be picking up the phone and ringing Micheál O'Shine was like ringing the Pope. You know what I mean? It was like, it was the strangest thing,
Yeah.
Especially me coming from Fine Gael and him being in probably I think he was Sinn Féin man,
Right.
But so it was all strange in lots of ways. Like, but what he said is, no, don't go after those people. If they, that's their business. Don't divide the community.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what happened, which we were all shocked by, was that there had been a story that there was a unanimous decision to take the 20,000. And when we didn't go after people and we stopped people from protesting and stopped people from going after them,
pillaring them,
were really upset. Yeah.
Yeah.
They actually decided among themselves, well, this wasn't a unanimous decision, first of all. And they started to say, well, I didn't vote for it, and I didn't vote for it, and I didn't vote for it. And then it came down to, there was really just a couple of people that manufactured, we'll say, consent for it. And then if they could have given the money back, they would have. And then nobody else took money.
Right. Okay.
So, and that was because of advice that we got from Rossport. And that was really important for us. Like that, because it showed us that the intention was to divide. The purpose of the money was to divide the community.
Yeah. And we've seen that here. Money has been sprinkled all over the country. Thousands have been handed out to communities, to schools, and to everything. And nobody knew what was going on. And with the declaration that you'll not come out against us or say a word, and then as the truth began to trickle down, some communities then moved away from it. They didn't realise what they'd gotten themselves into it, and so on. But Same. We've followed that line pretty much the same. If community's taken it, they've taken it, and that's that. We're not out. We're all ignorant at the start. Nobody.
Yeah.
We didn't have the knowledge, but now we have the knowledge. And they're not giving out the money anymore because to say that the decisions aren't being made quick enough. So it's just. Should I use the word blackmail?
Yeah, leverage. Yeah,
leverage. Thank you. That's a better word. Michael, so you must have been out chatting to farmers at kitchen tables and gathering petitions. And so, what were the farmers around saying about the waters or the wells or about the land, or what was the general feeling initially? And
well, originally, like they were like me. They thought it would be a good idea, but now the farmers are getting very scarce where I come from, so they're dying off.
Yeah. So Quilchim owns most of the land. Yeah. But back then, when maybe it was even the situation back then when you were campaigning. Were you chatting to farmers or?
Oh yeah, well they would have come on our side, all right.
Yeah.
Well, like the IFA played a big part.
Yeah,
did they?
It took them a while too. It took everybody a while.
It did. Yeah.
But yeah, so we started off. That's what the point I started to make earlier with that. We started off being kind of people were wondering, well, why are you so excited about this? This is like you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they'd expected that we'd be pro development and that that we.
Yeah.
Why weren't we just? What notion had we taken? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then as time went on, I've seen that happen with your campaign as well. Like I think people now generally accept that you're in the right place, that you have the right voice, And it took a long time for that to happen to us.
It did. Yeah.
But it did happen in the end. Like everybody that's involved in anti-fracking in Leitrim is very proud of the role that they played now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and isn't that great? It's a great feeling.
But we're afraid that it will come back and rise its head again now with this Trump wanting to get his gas into Shannon, into this country.
Yeah, I know. We're all afraid of that, Yeah. The gas and
why were we wanting all this gas coming in when we have it under us? That'll be the next. So
yeah.
It's a worry.
It is all right.
I like what you said below at the meeting that day below in your place about people sitting back and not when you told the story about in Australia with the dogs with the
Oh yeah, I'd forgotten I told that story. Yeah.
Well, we're all a bit like that where we sort of didn't come out and do something about it. It's like the Greenham Common. I never joined them at that time. There was another protest with the nuclear where they wanted to set up a power station in Ireland as well.
Down in Carnsore.
Yeah.
Nuclear power plant.
Yeah. Christy Moore was very involved in that back in the day. And the only reason I know that is that he was a friend of my brother's down in
this country that time.
Kildare. Yeah. That was that Carnsore was huge at the time because I can remember that clearly, even though I was only a youngster, But it wasn't. I used to live in Kildare, and I remember all my older brothers heading down to Carnsore. They were going down for the crack.
Yeah. Well, it's very important that when you're at this, that it is a bit of crack.
Oh yeah,
because it's either burning you out or you're thriving.
Yeah.
And we started to thrive at some point. It was very hard in the beginning, and then we started to enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, where's the next protest?
Or where because it became a big part of our lives. Like,
well, it has been.
Yeah, and it's flicking that switch, that you do enjoy it, but that you're not doing it because it's you want to enjoy it, but it just happens naturally because your values are in the right place.
Yeah.
And then
you know you're doing the right thing.
That's right, yeah. And then it becomes easy, and it is your way of life, and it's hard to live it any differently.
And it makes you think too. We were asleep for so many years, or I was, that I sat back and let somebody else do the. When I was asleep.
You didn't do much sitting back, Mike, since 2011.
But until we heard, that, then I knew nothing about any of that. Why is these people protesting? So,
but Michael, it's very hard to step outside the norm. To step away from mainstream thinking, and it takes courage, and it's the courage of our convictions, and to hang outside the norm for as long as it takes. I often think about other people who took steps in life to step outside the norm. And it wasn't until after they died, maybe in prison or whatever, that it became apparent, actually, they had the right idea, and they became heroes subsequently. That recent political opponent of Vladimir Putin, he stood up and he said no. He stood up to him, and he died for his convictions, and that's. What a human being, what a human being. He died for other human beings. That's what he did, There's.
Did you know that lady that died the other day?
No, I never met her. I knew of her, but I never met her.
Right.
Yeah, did you know her?
No, I didn't know her. I only just read about her now.
Just reading about her.
Yeah. She seems to have been a remarkable woman. By all accounts, if she turned and there she is in the headlines of the Irish Times, or not the headlines, but they wrote about her, so she's been spent so long outside the normal lane of thinking, and she had to die for her work to be recognised,
Really?
And I don't know how long she spent camped down outside Shannon.
I see some of them now are refusing to take their what do you call these statues or whatever, in the universities, they're
not taking the qualifications or
the whatever you call them.
When to graduate.
The graduation thing, yeah.
Oh, really? I haven't heard that now.
Because of these universities are dealing with taking money from Israel.
Oh yeah. Well, see, that's the only way things get changed.
Yeah. Well, it's getting highlighted anyway. So.
Yeah, and I think there's 3 youngsters who are in prison there. In Limerick, they were down at Shannon, and I don't know if they're in or out, but they're only 20-year-olds. Just
when I see that, I think, we're talking about the young people.
Yeah.
There's hope then, because you see these young people, and they can catch up so quickly.
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
And then they're so serious. Like, people think that the next generation isn't serious. The next generation are very serious.
They are very serious. They are. Yeah. I just want them to have a good lives, to have happy lives,
Yeah.
And whatever way we can assist them in that. Anyways, let's move it on a bit. So, Eddie, you're inside local government now, and perhaps you've been looking closely at things like the Critical Raw Materials Act. How do you see these policies impacting rural communities on the ground? How do you feel about them?
Well, I think that's why I've been looking at it, because of our background. We've been very interested in that. There's very little talk in the council about that. Like, I'd say none.
Right.
And we don't know, this 2017 Mineral Act and that regulation, what do you call it? What's the name of that regulation? Critical raw materials.
Critical raw materials, yeah.
Regulation. Like, that's a law now in all the member states,
Right.
What's happening there is they want to go from 3% indigenous materials to 10% by 2030. Like, we're nearly at 2030.
Yeah.
And the license and everything, 25% and 27%, I think, in Ireland, in North and South,
Yeah.
and not a word about it. I think they learned a lot from fracking. That was a big experiment, trying to see if member states could impose, oil and gas industries.
Right.
But with this, they have decided that no, we're going to cede that decision making to Europe.
Yeah.
So that now when all of these things come, eventually they'll be given, priority status, as European projects. But we'll have very little power to stop them. But of course, we have plenty of power,
we have,
plenty of power. That's what we're proving,
Yeah.
You can't impose. Well, we hope we can't. That governments won't be able to impose projects that people shouldn't accept. You know what I mean? Like, I see resistance to things that people should accept, or that should allow to be regulated and allowed to be managed and planned. But there are things that shouldn't be accepted under any conditions,
Yeah.
Like, the social contract breaks down when you decide you want to frack somewhere, or you're going to introduce.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah.
That's the point when you have to say, okay, well, if you're not sovereign, we are, and we're going to stand our ground.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of territory we're into with critical minerals,
I don't know if you realise ours was updated there. They call it the Critical Minerals Act of 2035, and it just came out last week. And I've actually done a solo podcast on it. It comes out tomorrow. It's 8 minutes long, 8 or 10 minutes long. I just pulled out the 10 points on it, which they're probably trying to impose on us here in the north and across the UK. And it doesn't make happy reading. Pardon?
Because the politics in the north are so sectarian.
Yeah.
Not as they were, but the decision making is like that. That one group will be allowed to go and like whoever's in the Department of Economy, will get to call all, to implement that without any sanction or any opposition from the other side, because they just don't oppose each other.
Yeah.
They won't get into each other's business.
That's right.
There's no opposition.
We've no government to speak of in Stormont, and they'll deal with stupid stuff, but I just want them to grow a backbone and become a government. It's just, they've been hand-fed and led all the way, and they should have been cut loose and said, right, get on with it now and make yourselves into some sort of a decent democracy there in Northern Ireland.
So like it means that the north is a place to get stuff started, like gold mining, like fracking.
That's right. That's right.
We have to be so careful, and that's why when we did go into the north that time from Leitrim, Leitrim people, lots of people went with us. Like the fact that we were able to work together, and I think the solution to your problem in the north is support from the south as well. We have to see whatever problems ye have as the same problems as we have. Like, I remember when we were under pressure, people coming from Belfast, from Tyrone, from all over Ireland, and we were like so glad to see them. Like, you know what I mean? It was, it took those people to make what we were doing relevant, because it had the capacity to change everything if the government didn't stop what it was trying to do.
Yeah. I was told recently by someone who knows that Sinn Féin, at least, no, I'm picking out them Sinn Féin because this is where the source came from, that they were very afraid of the two communities here coming together on the one issue. It suits them much better to have the two communities apart than together. I thought that was a very interesting comment, that they feared the power of the people on the ground, So it makes us feel powerful in an odd sort of a way,
Yeah, it's just we have to work so hard to exercise that power. You know what I mean? It's just,
What annoys me is that we elect these politicians and then they go away and do the opposite thing
to what the people want.
Yeah. But why is there so many independents? Because they're not, and then some of the independents join up with the other two parties. They're all the one. There is a reason why there's so many go independent, because they don't agree with the big party.
I notice it now in the chamber. Like, I can say what I want.
Yeah.
I can think and speak at the same time.
Yeah.
Which I do far too often. So I remember chatting a Fianna Fáil councillor. I brought a motion on the triple lock.
Okay.
I didn't want I wanted to get the council to support to write a letter to the minister saying not to remove the triple lock.
Yeah.
Eddie, could I just stop you there for a minute? Because I've listeners from around the world here. Could you just give a 2-line explanation what the triple lock is about?
Okay. So the triple lock is so we're neutral, supposed to be a neutral country in the south, and in order to get involved in a war or anything that's like war, we have to have agreement from the cabinet and the Dáil, which is our parliament, and also agreement from the UN.
Okay.
So in other words, if we can't get agreement from the UN, we won't send peacekeeping troops anywhere.
Okay.
And the Irish government want to remove the UN part.
Huh.
So they'd love to be able to send, for example, maybe troops to Ukraine if that was what they decided to do, without a UN mandate. Because imagine the Russians wouldn't like them to send troops to Ukraine.
Yeah.
But the reality of peacekeeping is that if you don't have Russia permission from Russia to be there, then it wasn't peacekeeping. There wasn't a peace deal.
Yeah.
Well, and as a neutral country, we should always be trying to broker peace. And so I brought the motion anyway. But I remember the Fianna Fáil councillor that I was chatting. What he said to me, because I challenged them strongly enough about it afterwards, because they couldn't vote for it. They were all whipped to vote against it.
Yeah.
And he said, Eddie, you're an independent. You can say what you like. The rest of us are in a party. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the independents are able to speak if they choose to speak. You know what I mean? And a lot of people in politics, they have to look around them and ask questions before they open their mouth.
Yeah.
It's very different. I see that a lot.
Yeah. And that's where it was brilliant when we had Emmett here as an independent on our local council. He was able to speak again and again and again. And while at the end of the day, he lost the seat, because of the machinations of the bigger parties, he did powerful work in there and brought questions up and achieved an awful lot in a very short. So the power of the independence is fantastic.
Yeah, he helped us a lot too, like on the fracking stuff in Fermanagh. Like we often followed your meetings online.
Yeah.
Because we knew that Emmett was going to
bring up a question
or something.
Yeah. So, we were very grateful for him being there at that time. Anyways, moving on. Michael, you're back in campaign now, and this time against mining. Is it the same as the fracking days, or is it different, or?
Well, it's very quiet at the moment. There's no word about, anything really. Like, what's the situation with, what do you call them? Flintridge, yeah. So,
yeah, there's not much moving.
There's not, no, things are gone quiet with us as well, with the
group. Yeah. And when it came around again that there would have to be some sort of a campaign against it, how did you feel about it at that time? At that point, were you sort of thinking, "Oh God, here we go again," or
posters made and getting signs on gates and things like that? No, that's that went now.
So it's quite dangerous for us, because what's happening here is that it's the government treating this place like a sacrifice. So they're trying to establish another extractive industry.
Yeah.
That then we become reliant on,
Yeah.
I mean, you can imagine that if there was a gold mine here, then there'd be a period maybe when it wouldn't be that busy, and all the people working in the gold mine would want to see fracking start.
Yeah.
We already have 20%, over 20% of Leitrim planted with Sitka spruce. So, and a local farmer can't even get to buy that land. He can't afford to buy it.
Yeah.
But if he said he was going to plant it, he'd get money from the banks to plant it. So that's the situation.
That's the reality. Is corporations
win.
and big business are pushing out the community.
Yeah. We have to reclaim our land.
Yeah. It really is colonialism all over again, really, with a capitalist, very obvious capitalist backing. That follow the money. Eddie, so in the council chamber, you're dealing with planning, law, systems, processes, and other community stuff. How do you balance that role with the role of campaigner? Like, is there two Eddies?
There kind of is a little bit. Like my head is wired for campaigning. So I wake up in the morning and the brain's already thinking about what I need to do.
Yeah.
And that just happens. You do something for a while and then the brain just starts to work that way.
Yeah.
And then I'm learning the role of being a councillor. So I'm trying to figure out how it all works. And I am figuring it out. But they said that after about 6 months that you'd find your feet. Well, I'm a year and a half into it now and I'm still finding my feet. I'm enjoying it. It's nice. It's nice to be able to help somebody.
Yeah.
And it can often be a very simple thing, It can be obviously something that they're entitled to, something that I just discovered that they were entitled to. Whereas if I was there for 15 years, I'd already know it because I'd have so everything is the first time.
Yeah.
But the activism is really a big help too, because you kind of know how to campaign, already. You know what I mean? You know how to focus and trying to bring people with you and that sort of stuff,
You've sort of served your time a little bit in advance of it.
yeah, definitely, yeah.
And then when the fracking achieved its goal of no fracking, the fracking campaign achieved its goal of no fracking, what did that feel like for each of you? What did it feel like for you, Michael?
I'd feel very good. I can sit at home then, no more protesting. But then something else props up. So there's always something. They never seem to go away.
That's right.
Yeah, it never ends.
Yeah.
You see, what you realize is that it's them reacting to a situation. It's circumstances.
Yeah.
If the only reason the fracking was stopped was because it couldn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
The will to do it was still there. There are still people that want to get to the gas.
That's right.
The government still wants to find out how much gas is there.
Yeah.
But see, we were successful and we weren't, because we were successful in the south, but it didn't happen yet in the north.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the danger of success is that we lose half our campaign. You know what I mean?
Oh, I see. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
And then the other side of it then is the LNG now, that if they can introduce frack gas into the energy mix, then they can say, oh, so why are we sending all this money to America? This gas is very expensive,
Yeah.
And we need all these data centers now, and our economy is going to become reliant on AI, and so we have all these threats,
Yeah.
So we have to keep the community has to stay awake,
That's it. Yeah, and aware.
Yeah.
And for communities now in Tyrone and Fermanagh and up in the Sperns, and those just starting to deal with mining and extractive proposals, what advice would you give to them?
Well, you never know when it's going to. We didn't know a week before it broke for us that it was going to break. Campaigning is up, and you're either winning and it's great, or you're losing and it's terrible. But you know what I mean? And it feels like that. It's very hard.
Yeah.
But you're doing that in a community. You know what I mean? It's a shared high and a shared low.
Yeah.
But then you break them, and they're broken.
Yeah.
And it takes a while for you to realize maybe when you won, but what you do realize is that you didn't know you were going to win until it happened.
Okay.
So just because I think you're winning your campaign. You're winning it for all of us, because when you stop coal mining, it's going to affect everybody. protect everybody. Like,
But
and it felt so. We didn't know that feeling until after we got our ban, and then you realise how close you were. You can see yourself building. But when you're in it, you can't see it.
You can't see it. That's right. Yeah, you can't see the wood from the trees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And coming near the end of our chat here, I always ask 2 questions at the end. What keeps you going, and what gives you hope?
What keeps me going? I'm at an end anyway, so I can't go much further.
Of course you keep going.
With me, so. No, I don't know. I'm hoping that the next generation can keep going now. So
oh yeah, and we see that too. Yeah, so our kids now are starting to. We can see that. You can see like we didn't know anything about activism when we started. Now, the little bits in the past, like you talked about in Grange Common. Is that the name of that place? You would have been touched by
Greenham Common. Yeah.
Yeah. You'd have been touched by other things, but our kids grew up with this.
That's right.
Like, God help anyone that tries to do something that they don't want to have, in the future, because they have the skills. They don't even know they have skills.
That's so interesting. Yeah, you're right. They've got it in their mother's milk. Like, you can't avoid it.
They've been listening to us for so long.
Yeah.
So I can see it now as my kids get older, that they have this capacity in them, like, and that's great to see. But like for me, we're learning so much. Like, I understand the world way better than I was like a baby before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's great to be able to keep, and we're only starting to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Except now that we realise that. So when Leitrim was being planted, we didn't think that it was our job to stop it. They planted it around us.
Didn't occur to you.
We didn't really understand. But when we banned fracking, we realised, like, we couldn't let fracking happen. That was a massive threat, geographically spread. It was kind of easy to stop, even though it wasn't easy to stop.
Yeah.
That everybody kind of came to, all you had to do was explain it to somebody, and they
got
knew that it should never happen.
Yeah.
Whereas forestry came slowly. It was planted one farm at a time. One family moved on, and in came the forestry, and the place gradually, slowly, like a frog in a pot of boiling water.
Yeah.
But now we understand that we have a responsibility to protect the community, and we understand what forestry is about. It's about removing people. It's about weakening community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we understand extractivism and colonization and imperialism. We didn't understand what those things were.
None of us did.
Yeah,
none of us did.
Now, though.
Yeah, we do. We're very clear, and all roads lead back to following the pound, and probably to the city of London. Probably that's where it all comes out.
Like, we understand the importance of a local economy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's huge.
And people, haven't. Like, if we don't get people to come and live here and sustain themselves here, we can't protect the place.
That's it. Yeah.
And people aren't the threat to the environment. People are the protection. That's the.
See, their plan is just to break you down. These companies, that's what they want to do, to break you, so that you go away and give up.
Yeah.
Like, it puts an awful lot of pressure on every house or every person that's at it, like, because you still have to survive. And Eddie's lucky he's a quiet woman here. Yeah.
It's like,
I don't know how anyone puts up with it. Sure, how long are you at it now? You must be
same as you.
15 years, but you were younger than me, so you had a house to keep and what have you. But sure.
Yeah.
It's almost like, going back to our history here in Ireland. It's a rerun or a replay of the evictions or the Highland clearances across in Scotland. It's the same thing, but just dressed up differently.
There's strategy behind it all.
Yeah.
And it's only when you're at this for, how long have we had it now? Since, when you're at it when you're at it for a long time, we're at it over 10 years.
Oh, more.
Yeah, you're at it more, because we're at it 10 years.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to 2015.
Yeah, nearly.
So
14 or 15
must be.
years.
Yeah.
So this, now we can see the strategies. We can see why there's no money here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Why there hasn't been any infrastructure built? Why the hospital? Well, like there's the hospital in Enniskillen, and they're removing every bit of financial support out of the. We would say west of the Ban, there's no proper infrastructure west of the Ban in order.
Yeah.
So it seems like the whole of the northwest is a sacrificial zone.
Yeah, and trees don't vote. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and this is, but we're. So, like our parents used to say to us, this place is going to be planted. You have to get an education, and they didn't want us to be starving, and they didn't want us to go through all the troubles that they went through. They thought there was a better life somewhere else,
Yeah.
But they were never out there that long. This is a great place to live. Like the areas that we live in, that's the best that you could be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're surrounded by community and people that care about the place.
Yeah.
And
couldn't beat that.
You couldn't beat it, like. But you have to fight in these places. But your fight is how you like having to fight these battles is a kind of a privilege as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, imagine if you hadn't spent the last 10 years doing all of this. Like,
do you think you'd be playing golf?
I don't know. I'd have been bored. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
I wouldn't be the person I am. We'd be completely different.
Yeah. It does. It changes you. It changes you. It molds you, and you grow into the people that you're meant to be. I think. Well, for myself, I feel I've grown into the person I'm meant to be. This feels completely the right place for me to be.
Yeah. And then your children get to see that, and they are affected by that. And you see them growing into, great people.
Yeah.
It's a fire. It's like a forge for people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're right.
There was a time when we thought politicians we'd elect them to look after the people, but now we see them in a different light. They look after themselves first, anyway. And
that seems to be the thing.
And it's all about the big companies. Look,
but the big companies are really not that big. You know what I mean?
No.
We think that the mining industry is big. It's a couple of investors using other people. It's a couple of people using other people's money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're a lot weaker than we give them credit for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The people are way more powerful than a mining company. And even the fossil fuel industry aren't that strong.
Apparently, all the carbon emissions in the world can be traced back to 7 companies.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
No.
Now, it wouldn't be much easier to get rid of the 7 countries instead of trying to get, or the 7 companies instead of trying to get the whole world to agree on a carbon reduction policy.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Every carbon emission in the world can be traced back to 7 companies.
Yeah, like the people's interests aren't being served that often.
No.
And because we live on the periphery, we experience that. We're in the periphery in the northwest of Ireland, which is on the periphery of Europe. You're on the periphery of the north.
That's right.
Which is the periphery of the UK, and also the periphery of the south.
Yeah.
So we get to be sacrificed. So we kind of get to see what it's all really about.
Yeah. The blinkers or the scales have come off the eyes. There was a time you would have trusted government and trusted people. Well, now I no longer do. Not at all. I've lost it all.
What I see now as a councillor is I see lots of people working very hard.
Yes, I do.
And I see it all the way up.
Yeah.
I see it at the regional level. I'm on a Northern Western Regional Assembly, and I see the executive there, and I see how hard they work for the region, and I see how hard the council work for Leitrim. They do amazing stuff, like out in that storm, cutting trees, all of this stuff, like, but they don't decide whether fracking happens. Do you know what I mean? Or whether gold. Those decisions are made so far up the chain, and then they're shoved down on top of us all. So it's our job as the last line of defence to throw those decisions back.
Yeah.
But we have to learn that that's our job. Like, it's not really the politician's job. The politician's job is to represent those people that are pushing back.
But that's it. The politician's job is to reflect what the people want.
Yeah.
And it oughtn't to be the other way around. Often they're reflecting the power that's coming down to them.
That's the problem with the party. The party ends up doing the work of the cabinet, of government. Instead of bringing the problem up, they're taking the message back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's a balancing act. Like, that's why the people are so important. You see, people think that the protest isn't important, or that what's wrong with the people that are out protesting. The people who are out protesting are the people who are taking responsibility. Like, you'd say, have a go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if we let you, then fair enough. But not if we don't. Do you know what I mean? And it's really down to the power is really with the people. And if you and this is the problem with sectarianism and all of these issues, like, if you can divide the people and distract the people, then they don't then have to they miss the taking responsibility when it counts.
Yeah.
And we were lucky enough in Leitrim, just that we had a very diverse, mixed community that had that was back from all parts of, we travelled so much because of emigration, that we were able to go and talk to people in America and find out what was really happening.
Yeah.
And then turn around and we weren't being run by big shot mentality. Do you know what I mean? We all took responsibility and organised ourselves. And that's what we see you doing as well. Like, and that's why we know that you'll be okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, one word to finish. What would it be?
I don't know. Will it ever finish?
No, one word to finish our podcast.
The struggle
never finish.
The struggle will continue.
Yeah. The struggle will continue. That sounds a pretty good way to finish us off here this evening.
It's lovely to be part of the struggle, isn't it?
Well,
isn't it? Isn't it a privilege?
It would be very boring, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Life would be very different. And our last question this evening is, can you recommend someone to come onto the podcast here to speak?
Well, I think that you should talk to XR. Have you done XR yet? Have you?
No.
So X is Extinction Rebellion.
Oh, of course, Extinction Rebellion. Yes.
On the LNG, after we banned fracking, we fought on the LNG, and we ended up being a very small group.
Yeah.
And that campaign sort of needs to be fought at the national level. So at the time, this fact, probably 2018 or 19, XR were sort of quite prominent. They had come together. It was a wave like that at the time. And some of those young people are still involved in the campaigning. Like, most of the campaigning I do now is actually with all those young people.
Okay.
So we've got all these young activists that are really the future now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it'd be nice to give them a platform,
Okay, that's a great suggestion. And I hadn't actually thought of them before, and I'm more ashamed of me because I know a number of people in XR. So
yeah. So I'm thinking people like
some of the mother groups was the
Clare ones and Future Proof Clare.
Future Proof, yes,
a major, very important group.
Yeah.
So Melina Sharp.
Yeah.
Helena Shark.
No, Melina. It's
Melina, of course. Yes. Melina. Yes. Yeah.
Sinead Sheehan. She's in the university in Galway.
Yeah.
She's part of the LNG. Sam Moran's doing a load of work at the moment. Thomas Morelli.
Hang on a sec. Sam Moran.
Yeah,
Thomas Morelli.
Or Diane Little.
Oh,
Little.
yeah, I know Diane, yeah.
Yeah. Like, Diane is really... She ended up leading the anti-fracking movement in the north. No?
Yeah. Okay, that's enough for now. If I run out in the future, I'll be back to you. Eddie, Michael, thank you for agreeing to come onto the podcast today. And it's been a wonderful conversation. The learning in it for me, the historic parts of it that I didn't know, and being able to pull all that together. And I so admire you guys, because you started years and years before I have, and yet here you still are, men of principle and value, and following what you know to be true. So thank you, and keep it up. And I expect we'll be working pretty closely together this year with the upcoming public inquiry and other things that are planned for 2026. Thank you for all that you do. What stands out most from this conversation is how a movement that began with a handful of people like Eddie and Michael, who are already standing on the same side, grew outward in every direction. It reached across farms and villages, across counties, and crucially across a border that has carried centuries of division, tension, and memory. What they showed is that when the threat is real, when land, water, and health are on the line, people don't stay in their lanes. They don't ask who voted where or who stands under what banner. They simply recognise each other as neighbours, and they step forward together. And that's the extraordinary thing about the fracking movement. It built a unity that politics had never managed to achieve. It drew in farmers, councillors, community workers, young people, older people, and it made the old divide feel small and outdated. The border didn't matter. The labels didn't matter. What mattered was home and the shared responsibility to protect it. Here in the Sperns, we've learned so much from that. We're seeing the same patterns emerging again. This widening circle of people who might never have worked together before, now finding common ground in the face of proposed gold mining and the new pressures driven by the Critical Raw Minerals Act. Save Our Sperns is becoming part of a much bigger tapestry of resistance. Rural communities joining hands across counties, across borders, across old political lines to defend what cannot be replaced. It's a tidal wave of opposition, rooted not in ideology, but in lived experience and a love of place. And it's growing stronger by the day. If the fracking story taught us anything, it's that ordinary people working together with clarity and determination can change the course of history, and that power is rising once again. Thank you for listening, and thank you for walking alongside us.
You've been listening to the Save Our Sperns podcast, Voices from the Frontline. Thank you for joining us today. All the links you'll need, from campaign updates to our social media pages, as well as links shared by today's guests and resources mentioned in the conversation, are available in the show notes. Please take a moment to share this podcast with friends, neighbours, or anyone who cares about protecting our land and communities. And don't forget to hit the follow button on your podcast platform. It really helps the algorithm spread these voices further. Together, our voices are stronger. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep standing with the land, the water, the air, and the people who protect them.